you know what two-part silicone putty is? Two bits together, you mix them together and then make your molds. I've never seen anybody make it. Really? That is super strong. Right, we are back with another crazy experiment. Some of you may remember quite a while back I played around with some silicone and some polyfiber. Basically the polyfiber thickens up the silicone and I made some kind of inlays. What I want to see today is if I can take it further and try and make a two-part silicone putty using the same method. Now I've got a thicker silicone rubber because I don't think this will work with the original silicone formula that I've got from Let's Resin, because the viscosity is a lot lower. So they've been kind enough to send me this kit, which is a 10A hardness, and the viscosity is a lot higher. So I'm hoping that I'm going to need less of the polyfiber. And yeah, we're just going to see what happens, I think. So all I'm going to do is measure out equal amounts of part A and part B. I want to stick with 10 mil. I don't really want to go too much because I don't know if it's going to work and I don't want to waste it. I know there are so many different ways of doing this, making your own silicone putty, but I haven't seen anyone do a two-part putty. There's versions where you can use silicone cork and mix with corn flour, cornstarch, whatever you want to call it. I've seen a few different variations, but I've never seen a putty pre-made that you can just mix when you need, the amount you need, and work with that. I am making a mess already. That's what experiments are about though, isn't it? So I have equal amounts of part A and part B. Out comes the Polytech polyfiber powder. Now feel free to pause this. I paid £10 for this bag. Again, I'll put the links in the description box below for everything I've used. So I don't know whether this is going to be cost worth it. I mean, it's an experiment. I'd have to work out, is it worth it? I don't know how much of this stuff we're going to need. Really don't know, but pay attention to the warnings. I'm going to be sticking on my mask for this part and I will go into voiceover. And it's voiceover Dan. I've sped this up because I was there for quite a while really mixing this in. I added 8 heat. I think they're tad measurements. So I would say each scoop was about half a tablespoon if I'm correct. Now it does really thicken up really nicely. Yeah, it just takes a lot of mixing. It's looking very flaky. I don't know whether we're going to be able to touch it or whether it's just going to adhere to our gloves. I'm now just going to repeat the same process with the blue off camera. I'm going to add, you know, I'm not even being precise with the measurements. I'm just working it to a consistency. Sorry, my mask is riding up my face. To a consistency that I think would be you'd be able to handle it like a putty. It's more of a paste though, I'm not sure. I don't think this is going to work. So I am now just going to repeat that with a clean stick in the blue part. Right. I'm a little bit worried because it just looks very dry. I don't know whether to, because when you handle normal silicone putty, I think it contains an oil. The only oil that I've got is silicone oil. I just don't know. Let me just try a small amount. I just think it's going to stick. I don't know. Okay, so we can handle the blue. Let's try the white. could always put some oil on your gloves, I suppose. I mean, it's working. It's holding form. It's not sticking to my gloves. Okay, I've accidentally put a little bit of blue in there, which is probably going to activate it. So I need to get that out. Right, so we all know this is an experiment, guys. I don't know how this would handle being stored in pots yet, even if it's going to work. But what we need to do is test it, don't we? As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks, thank you very much. I think I'm going to, I don't want to stick it on here. I'm going to get something to make some putty up and mold it on. That'll do. Right, so I've just dug out an existing resin piece that I've made, and hopefully I can get a mold out of this. I don't know whether to try and like oil my hands or maybe some Vaseline just to stop it. I'll put some clean gloves on because I want to see just how messy this is. I think we need to try it without. So I'm going to take and just eyeball it to an equal amount of both parts. I don't think this is going to work. I think it just looks too dry. There's probably a little bit more of the blue part there. Let's put a little bit more of the white. Whoops. I think that will do, won't it? Let's just begin to mix those. It is sticking to my gloves a bit. Stop dropping it, Dan. Look. I think I'm going to try and just apply some Vaseline. Clean these off and just see if it helps. I've got my silicone oil. I think that would be best. Should stop it from sticking now. I'm just going to work that together for a couple of minutes. And what I'd do is I'm not sure on the curing time of the silicone on its own. I need to check. I'm in the studio pretty much all day, so I'm going to keep prodding it and poking it because that's what I'm good at. I'm just going to give this a few minutes mixing until it's one colour. Okay, we have a one colour ball, and you can see it's very flaky. It's not like normal putty. I don't know, if I push this on, I'm gonna get air bubbles trapped. What I think I might try is spraying this cabochon with a mold release spray. It may help, it may not. I don't know. And then I'm just gonna take that and just push that into the putty. I don't think it's gonna work. But it'll be interesting to see, won't it? And then what I think I'm going to do is put the rest that I've already mixed in separate pots and just see maybe in a week or so time. I don't think it's going to work for storage. I don't know. That's what we need to know though, is can this be used at a later date? Because there's no point making a putty like this if it's not. So what I will do is update on the community tab. So if you haven't subbed, hit that button. I will post an update maybe in a week or two and just see if this is still workable. Now I have these pots, but I have realized they're not completely airtight. So I am going to try something with some Vaseline just around the rim. Hopefully that will create a better seal. I haven't really got anything else to use, so it's going to have to do. And then I can reinstate the inner lid and then really tightly clamp on that outer lid as tight as I can. Right, I'm gonna sit and watch this. Actually, let me just read the instructions of the curing time of the silicone. Should have read this first, really. Okay, so 1 by weight. I've done it by volume. Oh well. 3 to 5 minutes mixing time. I think we exceeded that slightly, don't you? Working time within 30 minutes of room temperature. I think we've probably pushed that as well. Curing time 3 to 6 hours. That's what we're here for. 3 to 6 hours or longer time, depending on the size, thickness. Well, I'll update you as we go. I'm going to give it a poke. I'll tell you what. It's not ready, but it's curing. It is setting. What I did is I just put some silicone oil on my finger and just tried to see if I could smooth out that side there. I mean, it's a starting point, isn't it? But it's curing. I don't think I'm going to be able to demold it today, which is a negative thing really, because most putties are fast curing. But it could have positives. Okay, so it is the next day. It was still not set by the time I had to go home. But I tell you what, it is pretty solid. Oh, I think, did I just break it, or have I? No, I've started to demold it. Panic. I actually thought that I'd snapped the silicone then, which is not what I want to do. I want to demold it and then see how strong it is. Right, have we got? I mean, it's not perfect, is it? There's some really bad imperfections, but there is some shine. And I think the imperfections are just because it was just full of air from mixing, full of oxygen. It's not the greatest surface to push cabochons onto, because it is that, like I mentioned, it is quite flaky. But I think for a first start, that's really strong. For a first go, we could be onto something that could be really, that is super strong. Developed a bit more and a bit better. But it, as it is, I mean, it has potential. I mean, the outside is a little bit uncured. I think that is because I put oil on my hands. So it's not 100% on the outside. But I can't, you can just see it starting to break there. My goodness, I can't break that. For like freeform stuff, this would be brilliant. Obviously, I need to test the pots that I've stored and see if they work over time. But I think it could, you know, I really do think it could. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. If you haven't subbed, hit that button for me. I'm really excited to see where we could go with this. To be able to create a 2-part putty when and as we need it would just be an absolute game changer. And I hate that word. Right, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will definitely keep you updated with any more developments on this, because this is epic. See you for the next one. Bye for now.